Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There Plus, a supplemental video stream currently focused on Marvel's Moon Knight series, which is available to watch on Disney Plus. In today's episode, we are going to have a spoiler-filled conversation around episode 1, the goldfish problem. So it will include spoilers for that, as well as other areas of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. My name's Keith Isles. I am an independent filmmaker and lifelong enthusiast of film and television shows, and I'm pleased to be joined by a panel tonight to discuss this show. So first up, joining me from the UK as well is comic book fan and screenwriter Graeme Williams. Hey, Graeme.
Hello there.
How you doing?
Very well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Good,
Although there's a bit of sufferance of cold outside, but that's why we're indoors. Yeah, we've had some snow today. And it is supposed to be spring here in the UK, right?
Supposedly, yeah. But we do wonder sometimes. Absolutely.
We do indeed, yes.
Cool. Well, we've got some friends joining us as well from the other side of the pond. First up, he is my co-host on the Picard Season 2 live streams and podcasts. Welcome, Pete Mealy.
Hey, how are we doing?
We're doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good. And we have a special guest today on a special day, in fact. So I want to welcome back to the show. She's been on before. We have Barbara Mealy. Hey, Barbara. Oh, which is a blank screen with a muted mic.
Oh,
hey, Bob. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Very good. Now, Barbara, I believe today is a special day. Not just because we're talking about Moon Knight episode 1, but because I believe today is your birthday.
I think I'm having some signal lag because I cannot make out anything you're saying.
It is her birthday. Oh no. Drop and join again.
Oh well, that went well, didn't it?
That went great.
Yeah, that was was it my birthday?
Maybe Barbara needs to rejoin.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'll tell you what, I'll take Barbara out of the thing while she sorts that.
Can I just say it's not my birthday today?
Yes.
Yeah. We are recording this April 1st. And so
yes.
It's always fun.
Who feels like the fool right now?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway.
I swear to you that was not a joke I was playing on you when I told you it was Barbara's birthday. It is 100% her birthday today. She's just obviously we're not in the same building and her Wi-Fi is worse than mine, I guess.
Yeah. Hopefully this is more entertaining than the show.
All right.
Well, listen, we'll give Barbara a minute. I'm almost tempted to end the broadcast and start again, but then again, that's what makes this fun, right? The unpredictability of things. So, well, while we're waiting for Barbara to join, why don't we just, for the benefit of anybody that didn't, hold on, Barbara's back.
Phew.
Barbara.
Keith.
Is it working?
Yes.
Hey!
That's great.
It was really insane. It was like a bad trip or something.
Well, you know what? It looked like it was an April Fool's joke for a
minute.
Yeah. But it wasn't, because what I was actually saying that totally didn't land was the fact that it's actually your birthday. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Barbara.
Anyway, we will I think we should crack on with the show. So Pete, you're going to give us just a brief overview of the episode, yeah?
Okay, we open with a Bob Dylan song overlaid on some sort of ritual involving pouring broken glass into shoes, and then things get weird. Meet Stephen, a man who straps himself into bed, pours sand around the bed to make sure it's undisturbed, and tapes his doors closed. He lives with a one-finned goldfish and works at the British Museum gift shop, even though he has an impressive knowledge of Egyptian history. He is not a guide. He's a bit of a bumbling vegan whose only friend seems to be a statue street performer, and even his mother doesn't answer his calls. But it has apparently worked on the hot tour guide, who confirms plans to meet for steak tomorrow, which Stephen doesn't remember making, but goes along with it. We see Stephen start his nighttime ritual of trying to stay awake, but he wakes up in a field with a dislocated jaw, hearing an imposing voice telling him to surrender the body to Mark. He also has a scarab in his pocket. As he tries to get his bearings, the people he waves to start shooting at him. He hides in a village and then stumbles upon the Glass in the Shoes guy as other people gather around. Glass Shoes offers these people judgment, and the tattoo on his arm animates. Remember when I said it got weird? And if the tattoo says so, you're free to live, or you can be instantly drained of life. Stephen gets found out as not one of the flock, and while he wants to return the scarab in his pocket, his arm won't do what he says. And then as things get really sticky, he blacks out and flashes in and out of a fairly amusing fashion as we see the aftermath of a fistfight, car chase, gun battle, James Bond-worthy hijinks on a curvy mountain road. And then he wakes up in bed, still strapped in, sand undisturbed, so it must have been a dream. But it's Sunday, not Friday, and his fish has 2 fins, and he's missed his date. So he shame eats a box of chocolates, discovers a hidden bit of wall in his apartment that has a cell phone and a key in it. He answers the phone to hear someone named Layla who wants to know where Mark has been for months and why he's speaking in a weird accent. Stephen says he isn't Mark, but then Stephen's reflection starts talking to him, and then maybe there's a giant mummy there also. It's strange. Stephen wakes up on the bus and notices the Glass Shoes man following him. He freaks out and runs into his museum, where Glass Shoes guy says he's a follower of the Egyptian god Ammit, who wants to weed the human garden before all the roses are dead. Ammit also has people on the inside of the museum security forces. Glass Shoes guy tries to weigh Stephen, but finds only chaos. Stephen runs away to do his nighttime product inventory, naturally, and it's going fine until he gets interrupted by a mummy dog and Sandals guy who says over the intercom, hand over the scarab, and no one gets hurt. Stephen ends up in a bathroom where his mirror image says, give me control, so Stephen relents, and bandages burst out all over his body along with a white cowl and glowing eyes. And then Moon Knight beats the crap out of a mummy dog, and the episode ends.
Yay! Thanks for that, Pete. I know what's going on now. I know what's happening now. That's good. Well, before we get into it and our thoughts, just some really quick production credits here. Obviously, this is based on the Moon Knight comic by Doug Moench and Don Perlin. They were the creators of the comic book. But this episode was written by the showrunner for this season, Jeremy Slater. Jeremy's previous work includes things such as the Exorcist TV series, the screenplay for Death Note, which, by the way, is a really good film if anyone hasn't checked that out, and the Umbrella Academy before getting involved as showrunner here on Moon Knight. And this episode was directed by Mohammed Diab. Mohammed is an Egyptian film director and screenwriter with some quite acclaimed Egyptian films behind him before getting involved as lead director on this one. So there you go. Let's go back to us. Hey, there we go. So, as I usually say, my caveat with any of this is I've always been into things from not necessarily the source material, but movies and TV shows or streaming shows as it is now, whether it's live action or animation. I've always kind of, ever since I was a kid, it's always been my entry point has been film and television, basically. But I've got to ask you guys, anybody already familiar with this character from the comic books? And do you want to sort of say what your journey is? Barbara, start with you.
So I maybe listeners remember right from previous LSWOT episodes. I was the comic book sort of expert, I guess. But Moon Knight is one of the ones that I didn't really read. I think my brother snatched them up before I could really dive in. But in anticipation of the show, Pete and I did get a few issues to read.
I think it's like the most recent run.
Yeah.
So it's.
And I I've been talking about the episode with people since it came out Wednesday night. And the read I'm getting is that if you don't have the background of the comics, it's like even more so what is going on in this show.
Yes. For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. What about, do you want to add anything to that, Pete?
Yeah, I'll say that I did pick up the comics. I only picked them up because I loved how much the trailer for this looked. And so picked them up after the trailer was released and have absolutely loved this most recent run of comics. I will say I did also listen to a podcast that's like Geek Encyclopedia, I think it's called, or something like that, where they give you the sort of geek crash course in things. And so I listened to their Moon Knight episode. It's called Geek History Lesson. Sorry. Okay. Sorry for the flashing lights in the background. I guess I've got a mummy in the house somewhere. But
you just made me try and write encyclopedia and incorrectly. Now I have to cross that out as Geek History Lesson.
It is called Geek History Lesson. It's a pretty good sort of audible Wikipedia entry for various geek things. Cool. And so I do have like the background now on this character, but I will say that if you haven't done the background and you haven't read the most recent comic books, I think you're fine, because this TV show seems to be like nothing I've read before. So I'll say that.
Okay. No worries. And Graeme, I know, or good night, should I say? I know you were really excited about this show before, in anticipation of it coming up, because I believe you've had some history with the comic books on this. Is that right?
A bit. Over the years, just reading Marvel, Moon Knight's always been an ancillary character or a cameo guy who pop in. You have the ensemble, sometimes Avengers, sometimes not, comic runs, and then he'll literally pop out of nowhere, as you have with certain characters. So I'd always been intrigued by him there. And then I was lucky enough last Christmas, our good friend Clive Ashenden bought me the first volume of Moon Knight. Yeah.
Oh. Nice.
So I started reading that on Christmas Day, actually. And so it's got a flavour for all the characters, and also, that particular run from 1975 as well, which I'm sure we'll get into a bit more. But also the artist, Bill Sienkiewicz, massive fan of his. Follow him on Twitter as well. I just love his artwork, not just of the comics, but his paintings. So just through a mixture of this and this mysterious Moon Knight over the years, and of course the artwork as well. And then simply what Pete said there about the trailer, I was like, wow, okay, we could be in for something really special here. So that's why there was a big geek splurge for me when I talked to you earlier this year, then, Keith.
Cool. All right. Well, I felt that we had to cover this because we have literally covered all of the Marvel TV shows since they started over a year ago now with WandaVision. So yeah, if you are new to the channel, by the way, and you know, like this sort of thing, consider giving us a like, subscribing, checking out some of that other stuff, and you know, if you hit that bell icon, you'll get updated as to content as and when it drops. So thought I'd better throw that in there. So yeah, I mean, okay, well, who wants to you know, kick off with thoughts on this then? I mean, did this, for you guys that are all sort of familiar with the character, did it land for you? Did this work? Barbara, what did you think? Were you happy with this?
I really like Oscar Isaac. I think he's a really strong actor, and it was interesting watching him inhabit a character who's kind of, you know, hapless and like sweet, but like not super clued in, I guess, to mainstream ways of functioning in society. I was trying to watch too. It'll be interesting to see if his like body language changes. Like he had kind of a funny walk, like kind of a nervous, brisk walk, right, as Steven. So that I really like. It's sad because young Ethan Hawke, I really liked. But now I'm like, yep, you're creepy. You are perfect for the villain. And
do you see him often to talk to Ethan? I'm sure that kind of feedback would.
Well, you know, I'm in Manhattan, so you never know.
Never know.
Yeah. No, and I liked, I thought some of the cinematography was really interesting too. Like there was, I think it was when he wakes up in the field, the shot was so vivid, and I couldn't tell like if they saturated the color or like what, maybe it was a different type of camera. But it felt vivid the way that sometimes dreams can feel very, you know, like more real than waking life. So I thought like that was really interesting. I think they're doing a strong job in terms of the production also. So I'm really interested. I will say that the comics, you know, Pete said that this first episode has almost no relation to the comics. I'm really interested what Goodnight has to say about that, having read like earlier runs. But I found the comics kind of heavy-handed, and I do like them. I enjoy the art, but the character in the comics has the background of being a war veteran. So he has like PTSD, has like pretty heavy mental health problems, and that sort of opens the door for him to be inhabited by this wrathful Egyptian god. So it's sort of like, okay, he's trying to use his powers for good in a sort of Robin Hood manner, but it's very self-righteous, and it's like a very small enclosed world. So it's it kind of the comics actually feel like a typical New York story, and it doesn't appeal broadly yet, the comics. So yeah, I like where the show is going by contrast.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, Graeme, good night. What were your thoughts on that then?
It's to hear that perspective from Barbara there, because the episode itself I've watched twice now. Once alone and once with my wife as well. And even though it's utterly batshit crazy, I really enjoyed it. I kind of got it, but then I was expecting a different. I was expecting. Okay, put it this way, flip it round. I didn't know who to expect, because he's not multiple personality. He's multiple Mr. Disguise. He's Stephen Grant, Mark Spector, some cabbie I can't remember the name of right now. So I didn't know who we were going to see first. But then we get a Londoner, Oscar Isaac, and I had to rewind, because the first 5 minutes I was going, I couldn't focus because I know him, you know, from the movies. And it was utterly brilliant. What his accent, his traits, as you said there, Barbara. You know, his walk, his voice. just at a pitch higher. And I was going, wow, this performance is amazing. I went, no, I've got to focus on the story. Went back and I was like, okay, I'm into this now. Unrelating to more related to the comics, it did make me chuckle because Stephen Grant is actually the billionaire playboy, Bruce Wayne type of guy, right? Right from the not the start because Moon Knight they took an age to figure out. There was a lot of reading about werewolves and all the rest of it through these. Yeah, if you batshit crazy, right? But Moon Knight was just again an ancillary character, just to kind of shoved in, and they were trying to figure him out. So maybe what we're getting now is him trying to figure him out as the comics were earlier on. So I was pleased that they took this this route because, you know, for a while I was thinking, how are you going to do this? He's got loads of disguises. He's either a billionaire or, you know, he's a down out cabbie, or he is this mercenary. You know, he is this this guy here. So yeah, it was really intriguing. There was so much of it. I laughed so damn hard. Just the van with the cakes and the squishing somebody in the face with a cake. James Bond, why haven't you been doing that for years? Why hasn't James Bond been squishing?
Wake Me Up Before You Go's playing.
Yeah.
Which is sort of thematic, I suppose, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. but not to monopolize this cast. Is that even on second viewing? And I'd already heard from you, Keith, by text. I went, okay, I'll go into, and I watched it with with my wife. And when she was guffawing most of the episode, and we really got, and she was like, "This Oscar Isaac guy, you know, where in London is he from? No, he's an American. No, he really is, you know, from the United States." And we were like convinced there, but no, really intrigued. Thought it was a great opener. I kind of likened it to WandaVision as an opener because it gave me the what the F have we just seen? I want to see more. It was that kind of reaction twice over.
Cool. Pete?
That is such a great summary, right? That it gave you that what is going on here, hooked you in. I think that's what I will agree with. I watched it twice, and I will say that the first time I watched it, I was annoyed at the end because I was like, this went way too slow, right? I want so much more of this, and this is going slow. Second time through, I was able to just sort of like relax a little bit and enjoy it, and it is a wild and crazy ride, and so I'm interested to see what's next. I mean, like, it's such a wild and crazy ride. At one point, I did look up, is Cloris Leachman a cameo in this film, right? Did you guys notice that too?
No.
The person it's not Cloris Leachman because Cloris Leachman was dead, but it's like they got a Cloris Leachman look-alike to drive the chicken truck on the mountain highway. Gives him the finger. And I also think that the I don't know, this doesn't quite make sense, but the statue I think is also Ethan Hawke.
Oh, really?
Watching it a second time, I didn't bother looking up IMDb. That's probably something I should have done. But as I was watching it the second time, there's a shot, and I was like, "Hey, that's Ethan Hawke again." They just put glasses on him and painted him gold. But it wasn't Cloris Leachman, so I might be wrong. Anyway,
everyone's scrambling to IMDb.
Yeah, right.
What's Cloris Leachman from?
All I can think of right now is
Young Frankenstein.
Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein.
Frau Blucher.
Yeah.
Listening up for horses.
Valentine.
He was my boyfriend.
Okay. I mean, this is interesting hearing you guys say this because from my point of view, I mean, I felt like I needed to be less clued up on the comic books mythology and more clued up on my Egyptian mythology.
Oh yeah.
It did kind of feel very much like that. But I have to say, I mean, Peter will attest to this. You know that I don't really watch things more than once anymore, just because of the sheer volume of content that's out there and the amount of stuff that we're trying to watch and, you know, do shows on and whatever. And what Graeme was getting at was we had a text conversation about something else, and Graeme asked about when we were doing this, and I said, and I'm you know, I'll be honest, I said I didn't feel very inspired to do it, because my first attempt at watching this, I dozed off during it, and I really wasn't clicking or getting it at all. Having said that, I did watch it again because I thought I can't really host a you know, a stream about it and discuss it if I haven't actually properly watched it. And on second viewing, I had a much different take on it. So it was weird because as I said, it didn't grab me initially, but when I went back to it, I had as I said, a very different reaction to it, which I suppose is good. And I'm intrigued enough. There was enough mystery and enough like, what the hell's going on? I don't understand this, to make me want to keep watching it, which of course is the point, right? And like you said, much like WandaVision did when that started. Few of the things though that were a little bit different experience for me, it seems, is Oscar Isaac. I like him, right? He's one of those, he's clearly a very good actor, and he's also quite the personality when you see him interviewed and whatever. And I like his work. I really like him in things like, you know, Ex Machina and Inside Llewyn Davis and those type films. But I do find him a bit hit and miss. He doesn't always. I liked him in Dune earlier, late last year in Dune and whatever. But it doesn't always hit with me. And the first thing that struck me was I was really bothered by the Cockney accent. I just sort of thought to myself, what is this, Dick Van Dyke? It just didn't seem. It really didn't click with me at all. No, I have to say. Although I think I can't fault his actual acting though, because as Barbara brought up, the physical aspect of what he was doing, particularly when he was holding the scarab and the scarab beetle, yeah, and they were trying to get it from him, and his body was doing one thing, and his, you know, his reactions and his vocals were doing the other. I thought that takes some really good acting to pull that kind of thing off. So I'm not knocking that, but I was just a little bit, I don't know, I was a little bit pulled out of that. The other thing that bothered me, and I've since checked, and it wasn't, this was actually filmed in Budapest, not in London at all. Although obviously they got things like the museum and everything, they did a good job with that. But I was when he was there talking to the mime artist and whatever, I was looking, thinking, where is that? Is that Covent Garden? I was trying to figure out exactly where it was. So again, I was very distracted with things like that, which is crazy. And then the other thing, as somebody who lives in London, that just pulled me out of it is, you know, the Stephen character is supposed to be this kind of, you know, retail museum worker, bit of a loser and whatever. And his flat, right? I was like, my God, this is clearly an American production designer's idea of what a London flat, a central London flat is like. Because trust me, that bad boy was spacious.
I think that's a really common misstep in all kinds of film, in TV and in movies. It's like, oh, let's put people in these really interesting, like loft, you know, spaces that aren't actual traditional apartments. So I did have that thought at some point in the show too. I was like, wow, how does he afford that apartment on like a
I mean,
retail clerk?
And also I get, as a filmmaker myself, I get, you know, artistic license, and you know, this is obviously an alternate world anyway, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all of this sort of stuff. So that's very nitpicky, but these were things that, as I said, pulled me out of what was going on the first time round. But I found that when I surrendered myself to it and watched it again, I was far more entertained and had a far better sort of understanding of what it was trying to do. And yeah, thought it was doing it well. So as I said, I'm happy enough to continue with the show and see. But my initial impression was, oh, I don't know. I'm more Dark Knight than Moon Knight, and it wasn't really my kind of thing, you know. But you know, I'm glad we're here talking about it now. So let's put it that way.
and all hail Ethan Hawke as well. I think Barbara, you said he was creepy earlier on. Brilliant. Yes, absolutely. I had noticed it was him in the opener and first watch as well. And my wife's a massive fan of his too, so I was waiting for her reaction to him, because I know she had a crush on him when he was younger. Hey, she may still have a crush on him, although I'm not sure for this role.
Might be some bad implications.
Indeed, but no, he was just brilliant. Ethan Hawke's never not been brilliant in my view, but he was just underplaying it almost. And it didn't have to be the campy. He didn't have to go over the top with it. It was sinister enough, and even his surprise later on, because he has so much control, and then he kind of loses control with the balance for Stephen as well. Just a very subtle bit of acting there. So and you know, Ethan Hawke for years has been the good guy, and now he's a sinister bad guy. Always love to see the nice guys out there play really good villains. So I hope, you know, they maintain this, and he even if he does become more sinister, then all the better too.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is going to be playing, like, I forget, there's a film coming out soon where I think it's called the Black Phone, where he plays basically a kind of child abductor, serial killer type role, which is quite creepy. So it seems that this is his thing at the moment, you know. Sorry,
Graeme, is there any hint in the comics about who Hawke's character is?
No. These early ones, I just have to say that 75 to 81, 1975, so basically a month before I was born, the first one came out. So this first volume, as I mentioned, they were trying to just figure out what Moon Knight was and who he was as well. But the whole Egyptian part is slightly hinted at. They were trying to work with some supernatural elements more than just a guy who dresses up in white and beats the crap out of people, or werewolves, the first two issue. Yeah. But no, not there. Maybe onwards there, Barbara. So I've not experienced that. What I've experienced is similar to you guys, you and Pete, is I was in a bookshop a couple of times last week, and I found volumes of the more recent runs. The Mr. Knight, the consultant, him in the suit.
In the suit, that's what I think. That's what the current one is. Yeah.
So on lunch, I was kind of freebie, just flicking through and trying to get some indication. So that I think will tie more into it, unless there's with the Uber fans, there may be some Easter eggs coming up from the early comics, but nothing that I could latch on to apart from the fact that, again, there were multiple disguises to the fella rather than multiple personalities, as we're seeing in the episode. Yeah.
In like the current run, it is like he's got multiple personalities, but he's settled on one. And I don't think they're going to go with the current one, because part of the setup to get him to where he is in the current one is that he almost kills all the Avengers, I think. So if they were going to do that, they'd have to bring in a lot of the main MCU players, and I don't think it would work. But yeah.
Okay. But sure, yeah.
Sorry, Pete, I don't follow.
He I from doing this research, I know that at a certain point, the Moon Knight character gains like all of the powers of the Avengers, to sacrifice them to his god, or the Khonshu, and then and so defeats the Avengers, basically all of them single-handedly, and then double crosses his evil deity and saves the planet, and then the Avengers are like, okay, like Thor, Captain America, the more supernatural Avengers come in and make him go to therapy. And that's where the current run is.
Is it super therapy at all?
It is super therapy. It is a therapy for superheroes.
So in the comics, then he's more of an anti-hero than a hero.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, he's more of an anti-hero. I will say, like, the comic books that I'm reading, he's very much like a suave anti-hero. And like, I love that sort of trope. But then in this TV show, we're getting the like reluctant anti-hero, the bumbling hero. And what do you know? Like, I love that trope too. And it's totally different. But I
think
love
it's a good source of tension, right? Because it's not only if it's just one thing that the protagonist is struggling against, right? Then it can get kind of one note and like not keep the audience engaged or guessing where it's going to go next. But if he has, his personalities are in conflict with each other, and then some of those personalities are in conflict with the source of his power, and then other personalities are in conflict with like the heroes of the world around him, right? That's really, really layered. I think it would keep it interesting.
Right. So as someone who's not familiar with the source material, then as Marvel Studios done what they normally do here, then, and they've taken like the sort of premise and design elements and the sort of loose characters and whatever from the comic book history, but they've kind of played with it and changed it to give us something completely different here. Is that, or is this
looking likely? Yeah, they're cherry picked again. Okay. But again, my source material there and is early days, and then him literally being Moon Knight rather than him being all the non-costumed guys, because he'd cameo in on the ensemble pieces and help save the day, but always in costume there. I'm not sure if they'll ever go that way, how you have with Marvel as it is, where even Spider-Man cameos in Avengers movies. That could easily happen here.
Yeah, like I think the most recent run, the Moon Knight that we see at the very end, right, where all in white, glowing white eyes, that is that's the, except for like 3 or 4 frames, that's the only depiction of Moon Knight in the most recent run. What I think we're gonna get here, if we're in the prediction stage, though, is that pretty quickly we're gonna get out of the Steven personality, and then I think Marvel. So what I think is that Marvel started with this sort of their own space, right, where they created their own thing to be interesting and different, and then I would not be surprised if pretty quick it sort of goes into some of the past Moon Knight comics, where he plays more with the Egyptian theology and mythology, if those are the right words, and then finds his own way in it and comes out the other end.
You're definitely going to get 2 characters, because we've already seen them even from the early days, but again, they were just trying to figure out who they were, which is the Layla character, who was a sidekick, lover, secretary, PA. Women of this 1970s could do everything, right?
Is that the and I think that's who he has a baby with, maybe? Is that right?
Oh, not in this one.
No spoilers.
Oh, sorry. I thought this was spoiler filled.
Well, spoiler filled on the episode, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and Duchamp then. I was joking with I mentioned Clive Ashenden with the fact that Duchamp Frenchie, his kind of sidekick, is always in this white bubble helicopter. So when Moon Knight needs to get kind of escape from when he's been duffing up, these evildoers, he'll just go Frenchie, and then the helicopter with a long ladder will come down and he'll go off and win. So there's all that batshit craziness. I'm wondering how they're going to do it, or they're just going to go, we're not even going there. There's going to be no.
Because that name was in the phone, wasn't it? You know, the phone that he found with Layla's missed calls and stuff. I think there was a Duchamp.
There was definitely
yeah. There was a Duchamp.
Yeah,
it triggered it for me. Yeah, but that's as close as you got to any kind of correlation back to, apart from the name, of course, from Stephen Grant, but who's as I said, the Bruce Wayne type character of they were copying.
Again, sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I looked it up because it was bugging me. It is not Ethan Hawke playing the gold statue. And the gold statue in the credits is listed as another long-term Moon Knight character. Now I'm like spoiler averse. I don't want to say anything too much.
All right. Well, I mean, this is an Easter egg, but yeah. No, I mean, it's that thing. I guess because we've got the luxury of having a streaming show where this is going to be told over a number of episodes. I'm not sure whether this is 6 or 8 or what. For this run, it's 6, is it? Okay,
yeah.
But you know, obviously we didn't really see Moon Knight until kind of the last few frames of the whole episode, right? So again, they're sort of drip feeding the audience, and I mean, as I said, I don't know why. I think sometimes it's just where you are. I think I was just a bit tired when I tried to watch it the first time, and I wasn't prepared to do the mental gymnastics to try and keep up with it. But watching it the second time, I did pick up on a lot more stuff. So, but the Egyptian stuff is a big element. It seems the Egyptian mythology there and whatever. Yeah,
the Khonshu. Oh, I'll tell you what. My wife said as well when she watched it. She on the episode and its length too is that she said it ended just at the right time because she was just going with that hopping back and forth. When he's in a fight and he's reluctant, obviously as Stephen. She said she got it. She getting used to it. Okay, it's still a bit weird, but she felt that if it had gone any longer there, she'd have just switched off because okay, because her words were, okay, I get it. I get that he's like this. We get that he's battling with himself. So the dog coming and Moon Knight coming was just right because it would have been all righty. You're insulting our intelligence now. So I didn't get that, but I guess because I was enjoying it that way, but to hear it from someone else to say, okay, they were getting bored of it. I was like, okay, that's really interesting the way they just cut to the action. And I think, Keith, is that where you're coming from? That there just wasn't that action there, or there wasn't that, the batshit craziness was just spinning you out.
Yeah. I mean, there was some obviously the van chase. There was some great action, but like you said, it's more like what's going on. I mean, one of the things that did make me laugh out loud, and I really did like, was you have F. Murray Abraham providing the voice of Khonshu, and he said something like, "Oh dear, the imbecile has got the," and I just thought that was quite funny, all of that stuff.
The worm is back. That was good as well because I was really liking Stephen at that point, and to have this almost omnipotent being call him a worm, I was like, oh, okay, there could be something there if Stephen remains. I mean, in this guise. There could be a lot of fun there, like an odd couple type thing where you got this really strong character and Stephen's actually more in he is in control. Although my wife did say that was mentioning though, if she wondered if he was on the spectrum at all. So that it could be that rather than him just being who he is. But we'll find out, I'm sure. I'm hoping that they do land it with why he's who he is and why he's in control too. I really do hope it is something. Maybe what Barbara mentioned earlier with the more modern take on his multiple personalities and that in
I mean, I did chuckle at where this episode gets its name from. The goldfish problem. I did chuckle at that because that's clearly that situation where something happened and you want to try and replace it without anybody noticing. And I like
you have experience of this, do you, Mr. Isles?
Well, I like the clerk's response of, well, I don't know a shop that does disabled pets. But, there was some good stuff in here, but I don't know. I was kind of, as I said, first time round, a little bit pulled out of some of it. I was distracted by, as I said, the accent and the setting, and there were just things that they're nitpicks, but they just kind of bugged me slightly. But
you'll always get them. Like I watched it and I was discussing after with the wife there because I know that area of Tottenham Court Road, where he comes off the bus and he's scared.
And
it's where the British Museum and what are you doing going down there? You're going down into the tube, you're going down, you're travelling one stop on the tube, you're coming back up in that other tube station, and then you're walking. You might as well just hang a left. It's just there. So all these little things, but then I had to go. I lived in London for so long, I know it. So I had to kind of switch that part of my brain off.
What you have to remember, though, Graeme, is this what we're seeing is not present day as we know it. It's slightly in the future after the blip, right? So who knows? Something major might have happened.
And it's also
that's
Marvel
very generous
world.
of you, Keith.
Sorry,
it's a Marvel London.
So that's very generous of you.
Is this before or after the events of the Eternals, right? In which case, there might have been like a finger of a Celestial, sticking up right in that part of London. You had to get on the tube. Otherwise, it's like...
I'm sorry, but the Eternals just didn't land for me. I've got to say, the MCU, that I don't know. Did you guys like the Eternals? I know it's off topic, but did you? I'm just interested because it didn't.
It took a while to get there, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it is it has some pretty neat concepts, but I think that the meat of that story they didn't get to it until the last third of the movie.
Yes.
I love the costumes though. Ooh, got some really lovely colors.
The Eternals made me very angry because it asked a lot of questions and then did not answer them. Or when it answered them, it was like, like the big one is there's this huge question in the Eternals of should we answer violence with violence, right? And for most of the movie, they're saying, no, we need to transcend violence because violence is not the answer. And then they go, except for right now when we need to beat the crap out of people. So violence is not the answer, except for right now when we're going to punch everybody down, right? And then it's also like, anyway, I've got a lot of feelings about the Eternals, and it does not seem to be what anyone else is mad about. But anyway,
that's what we love about it, Pete. That's what we love is the things that bug you are so entertaining sometimes.
Speaking of costumes, though, I'm a little concerned that with Moon Knight they are going to CGI his costume to the point where they're either not going to show us as Moon Knight very often, or it's going to be distracting.
Although, did you notice that when he falls out of the building, right, and he's in the Swiss town? I'm saying Swiss. No idea if it was.
Well, it was the Alps, so it was been.
Right, wherever.
it's Switzerland or France. Basically.
He pulls up a white hoodie.
Yeah.
And it matches the cowl like exactly, except it's dirty, which I thought was amazing. And so if they give him that cowl for most of it, I think it might work. Although the glowing eyes are like you said, like if they have to CGI all of that every
Mhm.
time, we're never
Mhm.
going to see him as much, and it's gonna hurt the show.
I do also, I think, so what you were saying, Pete, is that you think they're going to sort of drop away Stephen Grant and really focus on the Mark Spector personality. But I think that would actually be a bad move, because the sort of like suave, you know, uber strong,
Jason Bourne.
confident. Yeah, like it's so, you can name, I don't know, tons of those characters, but this sort of like bumbling person who's more timid and stands up for good, like is not, it's not that present in, you know, media. So
Yeah, you got Jar Jar Binks and The Greatest American Hero, and that's about it.
oh,
Yeah.
it's not the same category as Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, I don't know. Watch
That
those
is
movies
rude.
again. Yeah.
No.
But no, yeah, that is definitely just because there's, again, back to the original source material, there's more disguises, which may be more guises that or personalities that we will have, because we've only got two at the moment, which is this Mark, we know, is probably Mark Spector, and this Stephen Grant. But you know, as I said, there was this cabbie, and he took on so many of these different these roles. It would be a lot more interesting and layered to then have more characters, that rather than a conflicting duo. And then you know, Khonshu could help with that layering. But yeah, I totally agree.
Here's a question. Do you think maybe over these 6 episodes, do you think it will always be Stephen and Mark, or do you think it will be Mark and another personality for each episode?
It's more of a hope, isn't it? We'll see what happens.
I mean that will really show Oscar Isaac's acting chops. You know, if he's got to play a different and you know, I'm not saying he's not capable of that. You know, he's a good actor. I agree, but that could be quite. I'm sure it won't be, but that could be quite an interesting way to take it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I agree with Barbara. You know, like I love to see him stay with the Stephen Grant and have more stuff in it. Yeah.
Well, it does make a change, because let's be honest, we're very used to the archetype of the like you said, the playboy billionaire by day, and then the you know, the vigilante anti-hero or whatever by night. You know, we're kind of used to that, aren't we? So I think,
is that a Batman shirt or a Moon Knight shirt?
No,
it's Batman. I thought I'd wear it because it has a Moon Knight-esque.
I thought it was Moon Knight until you pointed at it.
Yeah,
but now I see it does have the bat symbol.
It does,
and the ears.
Yeah, but you could easily, couldn't you? And
you could. So easy to confuse it. That's why, like, when I first heard of Moon Knight, somebody said, "Oh, Moon Knight's just crap Batman," right? And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so, like, I never really paid attention, you know, like 10, 15 years ago when I started getting into comics and stuff, because somebody was like, "No, it's just crap Batman." Like it's Marvel. You know how like Marvel does and DC, they'll trade off, right? And so it's like, "Oh, you made this character, so I need to make a character like that."
Yeah.
And
speaking of which, yeah, DC has Image Comics, right, is like a, what do you call it, an offshoot, and they have Sandman, who, right, is like controls the realm of dreams. So I'm wondering if this is going to be Marvel's foray into like dreamscapes, reality. We have like multiverses coming up, right? So
I love that idea.
I like that. Yeah,
I want to see that. Yeah.
Actually, just on that note, just something because obviously myself and Graeme offline, we went to see the Batman recently.
Well, I'm insulted.
And no, the thing was, I really enjoyed the Batman, and I like things like that and Joker from a few years back and all this, and kind of like what DC had done with that. But likewise, as you know, I love like Spider-Man No Way Home, which we all covered. Well, but actually Barbara wasn't with us, but the three of us.
We have to redo that episode.
Yeah. But how do you guys? I mean, do you have a stance on whether you prefer the sort of lighter action superhero stuff or the darker, more serious. Do you have it, or do you like both? Where do you guys kind of sit on that? Barbara, what about you?
I do like both. I think God, I feel like I shouldn't say this.
No, that's when you should absolutely say it
publicly, but like, yeah, a Michael Bay film. Let's go watch some shit get blown up. I'm in, right?
Why would you not want to admit that publicly, Barbara?
He gets so much flack for like, yeah, that's all he does. But like, okay, if he does it well, right?
Yeah. You're worried I'm going to tell them about what happened when you saw Transformers.
What happened?
Barbara and I went and saw Transformers together when it came out.
Oh,
we got out of the theater. Got out of the theater, and Barbara was like, "Let's go again." And I was like, "I'm not sitting through that movie again." And she was like, "I am. I'll see you at home." And I went home, and she saw the movie a second time.
But to be fair, the first one was great. It was after that they jumped the shark. But the first one
also,
and
like
Bumblebee are both great.
Transformers, like the toys, the cartoons, that was stuff from like childhood before middle school, So seeing it in this really big live way, right, was just
produced by Spielberg. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I love Spielberg.
Exactly.
But I do think that I am enjoying the darker, like more serious exploration of really complicated characters. I think, right, WandaVision, we talked about how there was it was a good opening for Marvel to explore like mental health, grief, coping with those types of things.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the Batman yet. I'm a little leery because I don't know that Pattinson can be a really serious actor, but that's because right, it was Harry Potter and Twilight, and I think he's done a couple other small things, but not anything to draw me in.
I was in the same of the same thought, but yeah, I mean, if you've seen things more recently, like Lighthouse and whatever that he was in, I mean, there's a lot of range and depth there. But
he's amazing.
What he brings to Bruce Wayne is quite
amazing.
Unique, and it's worth a watch for sure. Yeah,
no, Patterson's amazing there. But if you want to go see him be a broken Bruce Wayne and a good Batman, then yeah, it's worth it there, isn't it, Keith? But
I think
so no, I think he acting in that is excellent. But obviously there's people can check out the cast, the Home Media Minefield that we did of the Batman.
Yeah. There you go. Too. Thank you. Nice plug. Yes. On this channel, check it out. Yeah. What about you, Pete?
With Peter's point, though, that sorry, just like the last maybe segue for Peter, that Marvel is like, maybe they're bringing up these more serious, weighty topics, but they're not doing such a great job of staying in that lane and addressing them. And it's sort of like, ooh, he has dissociative identity disorder, but he's going to deal with that by like punching all the bad guys. So like,
yeah. What I was going to say is just to remind myself, the original question was, do I like the humorous and lighthearted or the more serious more? And I'm going to say that I'm a fan of either one if it's done well, right? And
that's a very fair point.
And to sort of harp on what I've been saying in some of our Star Trek, let's see what's out there, is it boils down to the writing, I think, right? More so than anything else. And that's what my problem with the Eternals was, right? They did not write answers to those questions in that movie. And then it fell flat. There were a lot of serious questions in that movie, and I would have loved if they had been addressed. On the other hand, like Spider-Man No Way Home, I think is fairly lighthearted and heartfelt. Maybe that's more of the right term. But they wrote it well and they delivered it. Like Barbara said, WandaVision was more serious and like experimental, a little bit of a different path. And I loved it. I thought it was great. But then you got something like Hawkeye, where they tried to be lighthearted, and it was just kind of a real mess, and I didn't love it. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm conscious after a bit of a false start there. We have been going an hour. So any final bits and pieces that you guys want to say before we close this episode out?
I just want to say join us as we continue this journey through Moon Knight for the next 6 weeks, because it's going to be crazy strange, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm interested in your predictions about what's going to happen next episode or third episode, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any, just because I'm just trying to catch up with what's going on in episode 1. So I will leave you guys to the prediction side. Go.
There's Picard to come as well, isn't there? For all of us who have yet.
Don't worry, we'll do a plug.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
But no. As ever with you guys, you are prescient and you're great predictors. I go and hope. I hope it stays batshit crazy. I hope Stephen is with us for the 6. I hope we're going to see more of Moon Knight being dead cool. Moon Knight. I hope the humor is going to be there, and it is going to take us in different directions that we had. But more than that, I hope they remain consistent. And I mean consistent is that I thought WandaVision was consistent, but Loki and Winter Soldier, Falcon Winter Soldier were inconsistent. I disagree with Peter on Hawkeye, but that's a fight for another day.
I think we had that fight a little bit on the
But hey, you only need to check out our other episodes for that, because we covered Hawkeye as well, didn't we?
Yeah. So there are more hopes for me that they do. If they keep it consistent, I'm sold. And this T-shirt will become a Moon Knight T-shirt. Right?
Cool. What about you, Pete?
I think we've said it. Yeah. I totally agree.
Okay. Barbara?
I'm 100% behind Graham's points. I am, because I like writing, right? I'm trying to think ahead. How is this going to tie into the multiverse that they've started, right? Opening up. Are they going to make him an anti-hero? Another complicating factor that the Avengers have to face, right, when they get there. I kind of hope that they don't minimize Moon Knight that much, because I do think he's a very complex, entertaining character.
Yeah, I'm loving the idea of the dreamscape as well. I think that can get really funky, really interesting. Pull us in.
So you guys want to come back for next week then? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. All right. Well, please check out some of our other work. As we've already mentioned, we are currently covering Star Trek Picard Season 2. The next episode's due to drop in the next few days on that one. We've also previously covered some of the Star Wars shows on this channel, so check that out as well. You can get in touch with us via email at LSWOTcast@gmail.com, or you can follow us on social medias at LSWOTcast. You can also follow this channel on Home Media Minefield, and please check out some of the other bits and pieces that we have on there as well. But yeah, that just leaves me really to say thank you to the panel for this week. I really appreciate the time, guys, and happy birthday, Barbara. I hope
thank you.
Obviously,
hey, Barbara,
at the beginning didn't really work, but it is April Fool's Day, so hey.
Hey.
Here's your blood orange pavlovas.
How's it taste?
Pretty good.
Lovely. All right, guys. Listen.
Thanks for having me back on. I'm happy to rejoin.
You're always welcome. The only reason we haven't had you on some of the other ones is because you weren't following those shows, I gather from Pete. Is that right? So
fair.
In scheduling, I did try to get you into the Spider-Verse one, the Spider-Man one.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, listen, guys. thank you so much, and we will see you next time on Home Media Minefield Presents. Let's see
what's out there.
Yay!